I think Mike on the line is going to have a slightly different one to you. Mike, what do you think? Michael. I've got Mike here, but Michael it is. Hello, Michael.
No, well, basically, I'm a supporter of Enoch Powell. I think he was right. A lot of people think he was a racist, but far from it. He befriended a general. I can't think of the guy's name. He was serving in India. Him and Enoch Powell walked into a club in India. I think it was called the Bike Cooler Club. The locals in there said it was just whites only. Him and Enoch Powell left the building and stayed in another hotel. He was very friendly with the Indian people. Loved Enoch Powell. He was far from. There was a lot more to Enoch Powell than what people make out him to be.
Well, did you know him personally, Michael?
No, but if you dig deep... No, of course I don't. No, I'm not that old. No, but if you dig deep, I believe that... Enoch Powell... You
said he was right. You said he was right. So rather than sort of go along with what we know historically and has been accepted as fact and the Rivers of Blood speech and him basically showing us exactly who he was, you've decided to quote to me an obscure story that I don't think many people are aware of, where he went into a club.
Let me just find it for you. It's in the Indian Express. I'll just find it for you.
While you're finding it, Michael, even if, let's go along with this, and he went into a club and he was lovely to a room full of Indian people, right? Do you think that discounts the fact that he chose to... the whole basis of this man's politics, the core of it, was racism. He wanted immigrant children sent away. He had a speech that got him expelled from the Conservative Party, which was a calculated attack on black and Asian people. It had in it the line, Michael, in this country, in 15 or 20 years' time, the black man will have the whip hand over the white man. Can you see that what that was trying to do was to make people fear people of other ethnic minorities? It made racism, it just blew too much energy and too much life into it, and it empowered people who had racist thoughts, and in fact it perpetuated them. Can you not see that he might not be quite the guy you think he is?
Saying the black man who had the whip hand over the white man, that's not a very good way of putting it, but basically what he was saying, I mean, if you look at London now, for example, I think there's about 47% white. Going back to the 1960s, it was 98% white. It was a more peaceful place. There wasn't no go areas. Knife crime isn't what it is. What knife crime then isn't what it is now. And what is happening, and before anyone sort of labels me a racist, I had been out with black girls and Indian girls. But generally speaking, what's happening is people are coming to this country where crime is rife, and they're bringing their ways with them.
What are their ways, Michael?
Well, I mean, just to say, for example, if 1,000 people tomorrow arrived on our shores from, say, Singapore, and then another 1,000 people come from maybe St. Lucia or Jamaica, so that come on in 10 years' time, which group of people were more likely to have criminal records? There's some groups are more peaceful and law-abiding than others.
Like the British in the days of empire, where we just stormed into other countries and pillaged and took everything we wanted. And in fact, what are your thoughts on the Commonwealth? All good?
Well, mixed feelings on that. But do you not think I've got a point? That
no, Michael.
There are some groups that are more peaceful than others.
Of course there are. But my goodness, do you not remember during the World Cup, we had English fans putting flares up their bottom, creating all kinds of destruction and violence and yobs. So what are you going to say? Us English people, we just go around having garden parties and picnics? No, we don't. There's bad and good in every single group and every single ethnicity.
Right, OK, can you just tell me who in 2022, this is not a right-wing website I've checked, this is gov.co.uk. which minority group had the highest amount of arrests per 1,000 people throughout England and Wales? Black people, there was 28 people per 1,000 of black people arrested in that time, compared to just 3 per 1,000 Chinese, 11 per 1,000 white people, 14 per 1,000 Pakistani, and I think it was 6 per 1,000 Indians. So why is it that that certain groups are more likely to obey the law and
did you say were they arrested? Were they arrested?
Well, this is a gov.
Yeah, I worry. I do worry. Look, I don't dispute that there is good and bad in every race. I do wonder if we've been told now. Again, the government's own website, I'm sure, will show you that the Metropolitan Police, for example, have been found to be institutionally racist as well as other things. So I do wonder if that plays into it, and the fact that they stop and search black individuals far more than they do white. I'm just going to go to another call, Mike, and they've got something to say about your opinions. I want to hear it. Let's hear from you, Eve. What do you think?
You know, there's a lot of Mikes out there who possibly read The Sun, digest The Sun, and then turn around and say, I'm not being racist, I've got black friends. You know, I'm not overtly surprised at what's coming out of his mouth. You know, I mean, this is somebody who will talk about, complain, moan and groan about, immigration and benefit from it. So, and then not really talk about, what, Brits do abroad. He's probably forgotten that, it was a lot of, racism that was thrown at the black players when the black players missed penalties. He probably denied that as well. The usual colonial denier in the sense of what this country did to other countries, the way that this country actually
very selective memory on that, isn't it, Eve?
Yeah, I mean, people like Mike, it doesn't. Unfortunately, we're used to people like Mike. Look at something one-sided, myopic, but not actually look at the broader picture. Yeah. That's what you've got. That's what you have to deal with people like Mike. When you're pointing out facts, they don't want to hear it.
No,
it's what they want to do is they want. Yeah,
it's what I was saying. It's very strange how we had it with Michael. We had it with a previous caller where they can almost, if Enoch Powell said something once upon a time or did something in a club somewhere that was good, then actually immediately he is a good man. All can be forgiven. I just wonder if they're that forgiving in the rest of in their other areas of their life, should we say, Eve?
Well, look, at the end of the day, people can go on about, Powell, being liked by Indians, and he went to a club and converse with Indians and what have you. That doesn't actually stop him from being racist. That doesn't negate, his speech, what he made in 1968. So, people like Mike, of which there are millions, will go on and on and on about, the fact that, he might have had a few black friends here and there. But at the end of the day, it's what was said in public, and that's what people want to try and forget. And as I said, the very same people who moan and groan about immigration have benefited from it for all their lives. So
agree. I think if you touched upon the fact that, Eve, thank you for your call, by the way, that it's just like, why wouldn't you just go on, what he chose, what he sat down, what he wrote a speech on, where he decided to stand up on a platform and be this, a huge speech. Why didn't you go on that rather than some obscure moment in some club? I think I know why. Simon, we've got time for one more call on this. Simon in Wembley. Hello, Simon.
Hi there. I think you might have got the wrong name, actually. I'm not Simon, my name's Ali.
Oh, Ali, sorry. I've got here Ali from Wembley, but are you in Wembley?
Yes, I am in Wembley, yeah.
Hello, Ali.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to shed some light on the caller that you had prior to this one just now. I forgot his name. Michael. Yeah, so I came here as a refugee 20 years ago from a war-torn country. It was just me and my mother. And we obviously went through some horrific experiences there, and we literally just came here for safety, for shelter, literally. We came here with nothing. I built my life up from scratch. I knew no word of English when I came here. I went into primary school, kids were laughing at me, kids were making fun of me because I didn't fit in, but since I've from personal experience, I've literally worked so hard, and I consider myself successful today, but that's because of all of the hard work that I've put in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but for people like Michael to say, for example, even when he talks about stuff like, a particular group of people are likely to be criminals just because of the color of their skin. Mm-hmm. No, you can be a criminal. Criminality can't be associated with a race.
It absolutely doesn't. And we know what I wish, Ali.
Absolutely.
And
because of the government that we've got at the moment, because of people like Michael's views, who, I don't feel safe in London anymore. I'll be honest. As a brown individual, I'm walking on the streets. People's attitudes have changed.
They have. Thank you so much for your call, Ali. And also, I just think if we had a media who were happier to communicate stories like Ali's, where he's come here and he didn't know the language, and now, as you can hear, he absolutely does, and he's done well for himself, and he's made this country his home, I think we'd have a very different view on it. But sadly, we've got papers that just perpetuate this idea of criminality, which people like Mike have completely bought into.